Welcome back to Out of the Rough, and I'm on two great guests, Bob Keller, City Councilman Bob Keller and Realtor Bob Keller, and Kathy Bost from Remax Realtors. I want to talk about the seller, because if you want to sell your house, you're going up with some pretty stiff competition with people looking at short pays and people looking at buyers looking at foreclosures. What's the first thing when you go on a listing appointment to advise the seller that you tell them as far as selling their home? Who wants to go? Who wants to tackle this one?
Oh, sure, I'll go. It's always price. You want to price it correctly right out of the chute. You want to have it priced properly so you don't waste time chasing that market down. And from there, it would be having the house look nice and presentable and clean. And if you have pets, it's always a good thing to have them on the side or not there while it's being shown. And it's also nice for the seller not to be there when the house is being shown, so that the realtor can really show the home, point out everything without anybody else being there, because sometimes that would inhibit a buyer feeling like maybe they need to rush out, or you don't want a seller following you around while you're showing. Right.
Yeah, comfort level, price.
Absolutely, what Kathy has said, and you know, it's not always easy. I think one of the more difficult things for a real estate agent to do is to go into somebody's home and talk to them. One is you want to establish a rapport, of course, if you haven't had the privilege of getting to know the people sooner. And but it's very difficult to walk into somebody's home. Hey, Fred, you got a beautiful home here, but you know, you really got to clean this mess up. You know, that all of a sudden we got to break down in communications. But ultimately, you got to get that message across, because if people are going to be serious about selling their home, they've got to present their home for sale, not to be lived in. There's a big difference. And that means, and I sometimes simplify it by telling sellers, now listen, you've been out looking at new homes before, going to the models. That's what you're looking for. Simplicity, clean, squared away.
Simplicity, you mentioned it. Now, I see price as the old location, location, location. Well, you have your house and you already have the location.
Yes.
Then it becomes price, price, price. Second tier is putting a fresh coat of paint on, getting the carpets cleaned. Don't wait until later to clean the carpets.
Right, staging.
Have someone come in and paint. Also, I've seen, I know you love your dog, and we love our two dogs. However, some people don't care for dogs, or they are concerned about you know, what the dog does while the family's gone, you know, or they're allergic to cats.
Right.
And they start sneezing when they walk. Oh man, how are we going to get through this? We're going to have to replace the carpets because I'm sneezing. So those things are intangibles that are extremely important for showing your house.
Well, and I'm going to take it a little bit from a different perspective. All right, I'm working with a buyer. We open the door, we walk in, and I say, uh-oh, hey folks, you just kind of have to look to the walls, you know? And if I've got to tell a buyer that you just got to kind of imagine it without any of the furniture and so forth in it, I got an uphill battle. Because I don't care what you say, psychologically, these folks are not going to be that thrilled about buying this property. And so therefore, you've got to convey the message to the sellers. Folks, if you're serious about selling this home, you've got to do your part and help out here.
Clean it up, get rid of furniture.
Declutter.
If it's over, if you've got too much furniture, you got to take it out of there.
Yeah.
Put it in a garage. You can always explain a garage. We expect it in a garage.
Yes.
We don't expect it in the home.
Front yard, cleaning it up, pulling some weeds, getting your front yard cleaned up a little bit.
Absolutely.
Curb appeal is one of the most first thing they do when they walk up to a house.
That's right. And the photos that they see on the internet is another thing that we want to remind them about. This is your first impression sometimes on the internet. So you do want the outside to look really, really sharp.
Yeah, so you know, you're in the rough, if you will. You're in some challenging times. You need to sell your home, maybe even move down. I've seen a lot of people, they move down. It's perfectly all right. Get out of the rough and right-size your life. But these are small expenses to pay to get top dollar for your house.
That's right.
It's a little elbow grease. Go to work and spend a day, and you can make a world of difference.
Fertilizer, you know, yeah, you name it. Let's talk about advertising the house, marketing the house. I know price is important. I know. I think it goes on Realtor.com in most cases.
Correct.
What other things do you recommend for people just to get a little bit of exposure on their home?
Well, I think the internet's the biggest venue right now to get a home sold. And then second to that would be print, flyers, newspaper, but even like Craigslist, things like that. All those internet techie type advertising right now is probably the #1 way to get a home out there. among the masses.
Sure, sure. Now, Bob, would you say that most of your clients at least go online, the ones that, enjoy
Not the ones
computers?
Of course they do.
Yeah.
90% are in that internet at some
Yes.
stage of the operation. You
Yes.
bet.
Okay, and they just take a look at the property, and I think that's kind of the, and pictures can tell, pictures speak 1,000 words. Was that what it is, the
That's
old
it.
saying goes?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's important to do that. Contract negotiations. Let's just touch upon that some do's and don'ts. Any recommendations there when it comes to kind of negotiating, going back and forth with the contract?
I think it's important to stress, you don't want to, when you have a buyer and you're presenting the offer to the seller, you don't want to present a super lowball offer, even in this time. Right now with our low inventory especially, buyers still think that they can present low offers, and with low inventory we've got sometimes now double offers happening, so you're actually now competing for homes. So that kind of mindset doesn't work, and it's always hard because the buyer wants to do that. They want to try that, but that's not always the best advice.
Contingency times. Let's talk about that, Bob. I mean, I get the offers, I see the offers all the time. Loan approval in 10 days.
Sure.
We can't do a loan approval in 10
No way.
days.
No way.
How do we get through to the sellers that that's just going to be a broken promise?
And that's exactly what it's going to be. And you have got to, and that's part of the job of the realtor. They've got to explain this, and I know that the lender works, and we all work together as a team, but you just try to, folks, you got to be realistic. This is the market today, and this is what we have to work with. We're going to do everything we can, and we will. And I've sometimes tell clients, folks, with all due respect, if we're not successful, you and I don't get to go to the bank at the end of this. Okay, so I've wasted all my time. So, and I say that just as a reminder of how hard I'm going to work to make sure that we're able to attain your goals and reach the end result that we all desire.
That everybody's trying to get. Let's touch upon it real briefly before we wrap this segment up, and that is if you're short paying, if you are in a true financial crisis, lose your job. A lot of people, people do get
sad.
They need to have their financials together, right? They got to submit that to the bank.
Correct. They're going to ask for 1 or 2 years of your tax returns. They're going to ask for your 2 most recent pay stubs, and most likely your last 2 months bank statements.
So that you're going to need to be prepared.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that is an option for people that are struggling.
And try not to be offended over it. I know it's just very personal.
Yeah.
And all you can do is just say that if this is what it's got to be, because the banks have to have a proper package on their side to be able to accept this stuff. And so, again, and I will assure, and I do mean this kind of information is extremely confidential. And quite frankly, seldom does the realtor actually get involved with that aspect. The client deals directly with the bank, but we facilitate that. We're the conduit.
Yeah, you help negotiate. Well, wow, it's been a quick 24 minutes or so. And so, Kathy, how can the listeners get, or viewers, reach you?
They can reach me on my cell phone at 661-803-3114 or email at kathybost.com.
Bob?
Keller@earthlink.net. Keller with an AR. That's a little bit of the difference.
Yep.
Keller@earthlink.net.
Well, it's been a great 24 minutes or so. You're a wealth of information. Bob, thanks for all you've done in the community over the last 2 decades. Kathy, you're a true professional.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed this edition of Out of the Rough. I'm Fred Arnold. If you'd like to view this online, go to scvtv.com or fredarnold.com. If you have a question for Out of the Rough, email me at fred@fredarnold.com. Until our next conversation, make it a healthy and prosperous day, and I hope this helped get you out of the rough.